There exists a door you have never seen. It has no handle on the outside, no sign, no address. Yet behind it sit the people who decide what you will earn, what you will believe, and how far your ambitions will be allowed to travel. You have walked past this door 1,000 times. You have felt its presence in rooms where conversations stopped when you entered. You have sensed it in opportunities that vanished before you could reach them. In promotions given to people less talented than you. In deals closed before you knew they existed. The elite do not advertise their gates. They do not publish their passwords. They have spent centuries perfecting the art of invisible exclusion. And everything you have been taught about success has been designed to keep you circling outside that door forever. But today something changes. Today you learn what Machiavelli knew 500 years ago and what the powerful have guarded ever since. You learn how the door opens. Not through luck. Not through waiting. Through infiltration. And if you are wise enough to stay until the end of this video, you will possess knowledge that most people will live and die without ever discovering. Before we go any further, I need you to do something that takes half a second but changes everything. Subscribe to this channel. Not because I am asking, but because what you are about to learn requires a mind committed to seeing what others refuse to see. The subscribe button is your first act of separation from the crowd. Click it now and let us begin. There is a story that history tried to bury. In the winter of 1499, a man with no noble blood and no inherited wealth walked into the court of Cesare Borgia. This was not a place where common men survived. Borgia was the son of a pope and the most feared military commander in Italy. He had executed allies over dinner. He had poisoned rivals at their own weddings. His court was a labyrinth of whispers where one wrong word meant disappearance. And yet this unremarkable man from Florence did something impossible. He did not merely survive the court of Cesare Borgia. He became essential to it. Within weeks, he was advising the most dangerous prince in Europe. Within months, he was trusted with secrets that cardinals would have killed to possess. His name was Niccolò Machiavelli. And he was not noble. He was not rich. He was not connected by blood to anyone who mattered. He was a minor diplomat from a weak republic surrounded by empires. But he understood something that the nobles around him did not. He understood that every closed circle has a crack. Every guarded door has a key. And power does not flow to those who deserve it. Power flows to those who learn its secret architecture. What Machiavelli discovered in those blood-soaked courts he never published directly. It was too dangerous. The true lessons were hidden between the lines of his famous works. Scattered across private letters. Encoded in stories that seemed to be about ancient Rome but were actually instructions for the ambitious outsider. I have spent years gathering these fragments, reconstructing what he actually knew. And what emerges is not philosophy. It is a map. A precise detailed map of how closed doors actually open. How elites actually select new members. How power actually transfers between hands. Think about this. Why would the powerful ever write down their real methods? Why would they teach you how to join them? They would not. Unless someone from the outside broke in and reported back. That is what Machiavelli did. That is what I am about to share with you. But I need to warn you about something. This knowledge will change how you see every room you enter. Every handshake you receive. Every smile from someone above you. You will start to see the machinery behind the curtain. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Some of you will find this disturbing. Some of you will find it liberating. Let me know in the comments right now which you expect to feel. Disturbed or liberated. Write it down. I will tell you at the end why your answer reveals more about your future than you realize. Lesson 1. The first law of infiltration is so counterintuitive that most ambitious people destroy their chances before they begin. They believe that to enter elite circles they must demonstrate their value loudly. They must show their skills, prove their worth, make their excellence undeniable. This is exactly wrong. The elite do not open doors for impressive people. They open doors for safe people. Listen to that again. Not impressive, safe. Machiavelli understood this from his first moments in Borgia's court. He watched brilliant men approach the prince with demonstrations of their genius. military strategists with perfect battle plans, engineers with revolutionary weapons, merchants with fortunes to offer. And he watched Borgia smile at each one and then never summon them again. But he also watched who Borgia did summon. A priest who seemed to have no talents at all. A minor nobleman who never spoke in public. A servant who had been in the household so long everyone forgot he existed. These were the people who sat in the private chambers. These were the people who knew the real plans. Why? Because they had proven something more valuable than competence. They had proven they would never become a threat. They had proven they could be trusted with secrets that would destroy kingdoms. This is the first crack in the closed door. The elite are not looking for the most talented person in the room. They are looking for the person least likely to use what they learn against the circle. Think about your own attempts to rise. How many times have you led with your achievements, your credentials, your ambitions? And how many times has that approach led you to the inner rooms? I suspect never. Because every time you demonstrate how capable you are, you also demonstrate how dangerous you could become. You show them exactly why they should keep the door closed. The person who infiltrates does not lead with strength. They lead with something far more seductive. The appearance of loyal harmlessness. I need to pause here because some of you are already misunderstanding. You think I am telling you to be weak, to be passive, to diminish yourself. No. I am telling you to be strategic about what you reveal and when. A sword hidden in a walking stick is still a sword, but it enters rooms that drawn blades never see. The elite test for threat before they test for value. Pass the first test and the second becomes almost irrelevant. Fail the first test and your value means nothing because you will never get close enough to demonstrate it. Comment below if you have ever been the most qualified person for an opportunity and watched it go to someone who seemed less impressive. Tell me about it. Because I guarantee that person understood what you are only now learning. Lesson 2. The second law of infiltration concerns the architecture of elite attention. Common people believe that to enter elite circles you must capture their attention. You must be noticed, remembered, thought about. This is another path to permanent exclusion. Machiavelli observed something crucial in every court he entered. The people who sought attention received a particular kind of attention. Surveillance, suspicion, careful monitoring. But the people who avoided attention, who seemed to want nothing, who appeared almost invisible, those were the ones who accumulated real proximity to power. There is a reason for this, and it is rooted in the psychology of those who have much to protect. When you seek their attention, you become a variable in their calculations. They must spend energy evaluating you, predicting your moves, considering your motives. This is work. This is cognitive burden. And elites are experts at eliminating cognitive burden. They will remove you from their environment simply to reduce the number of things they must think about. But when you seek no attention, something strange happens. You become part of the furniture. Part of the background. And the background is where all the real conversations happen. Machiavelli cultivated what he called the presence of absence. He would attend every important gathering but position himself at the edges. He would speak when spoken to but never initiate. He would be useful in small invisible ways. Refilling a glass. Remembering a minor detail. Being present when needed and absent from memory when the gathering was recalled. Months of this behavior created something priceless. He became trusted furniture. The nobles around him began to have private conversations in his presence. They forgot to lower their voices when he was near. They stopped calculating his motives because he had demonstrated no motives to calculate. This is infiltration, not breaking down the door. Becoming so unremarkable that you are already inside before anyone thinks to check. Now I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds like servitude. This sounds like humiliation. And if your ego is your priority, then yes, this path is not for you. But ask yourself a question. Would you rather be noticed and excluded or unnoticed and present? Would you rather have your pride intact outside the room or your pride temporarily suspended inside the room where the real decisions are made? Machiavelli chose presence over pride. And within 5 years of entering Borgia's court as a nobody, he was corresponding with kings. The people who noticed him and dismissed him as unimportant were the same people who later begged for his counsel. Some of you need to subscribe right now because the lesson after next will reveal something about elite psychology that will make this entire strategy click into place. But if you leave before that moment, everything I have told you will remain fragments. Pieces without the pattern. Stay with me. The architecture is still being revealed. Lesson 3. The third law of infiltration concerns the currency that elites actually value. Common people believe elites value money, or talent, or connections. These matter, but they are not the primary currency. The primary currency of elite circles is something that cannot be bought or faked. It is proof of discretion demonstrated over time. Machiavelli recognized that every elite circle functions on secrets. Business arrangements that would destroy reputations. Personal vices that would end careers. Political alliances that would shock the public. Family histories that must never surface. The elite do not fear the poor. They do not fear the unconnected. They fear exposure. And therefore they prize above all else people who have proven they can know things and never speak them. This is why infiltration takes time. There is no shortcut. You cannot demonstrate discretion in a single meeting. You can only demonstrate it through months and years of small tests. A rumor you could spread but do not. A secret you could leverage but do not. An advantage you could take but decline. Each instance is noted. Each choice is remembered. A pattern emerges. And when that pattern is established, something remarkable happens. The doors begin to open from the inside. You are no longer pushing your way in. You are being pulled. Because the elite have identified you as something rare. A vault. A person who can hold dangerous information without leaking it. Do you understand what this means? Most people try to enter elite circles by demonstrating what they can do. But the real entrance requirement is demonstrating what you will not do. The restraint you show with information you already have is the audition tape for information you might receive. Machiavelli proved his discretion repeatedly during the Italian wars. He learned which pope was poisoning which cardinal. He knew which alliance would collapse before it was announced. He understood which prince was secretly bankrupt and which merchant was secretly a spy. And he said nothing. To no one. Even when speaking could have advanced his immediate interests. Even when silence seemed to cost him opportunities. He understood that short-term gains from leaked secrets always destroy long-term access. One moment of gossip and every door closes forever. Comment below and tell me honestly. Could you keep a secret that would make you look powerful if you revealed it? Could you hold information that would win you admiration if you shared it? Be honest with yourself. Because if the answer is no, then infiltration is not for you and there is no shame in that. But if the answer is yes, then you already have the most important qualification. Everything else can be learned. Discretion cannot. It is either in your character or it is not. Lesson 4. The fourth law of infiltration addresses something that most people never consider. The social physics of proximity. There is a scientific reality to how influence transfers between humans. We become like the people we spend time near. We absorb their vocabulary, their assumptions, their posture, their expectations. The elite understand this intuitively. It is why they are so careful about who enters their physical space. It is not snobbery for its own sake. It is protection of the informational and behavioral environment they have cultivated. Machiavelli understood that infiltration was not merely about access. It was about transformation. To be accepted by the elite, you must become indistinguishable from them in every way that matters. Not by imitating them. Imitation is detected and despised. But by genuinely absorbing their patterns until those patterns become your own. This happens through proximity. And it cannot happen any other way. You cannot read your way into elite circles. You cannot think your way in. You must physically be near them long enough for the transfer to occur. This is why Machiavelli took low positions that kept him in high rooms. He could have pursued higher titles in lower environments. Instead, he pursued lower titles in higher environments. A minor diplomat among princes absorbs more than a major diplomat among merchants. This is strategic positioning that almost no one practices. Most people seek the highest title they can achieve. They want to be the biggest fish. But Machiavelli taught that the size of the pond matters more than the size of the fish. A small fish in a vast ocean travels further than a large fish in a small pond. Consider where you spend your time. Are you the most successful person in your environment? If so, you are in the wrong environment. You have chosen to be a large fish in a small pond, and you will never be pulled beyond that pond. The elite are swimming elsewhere. And every day you spend away from their waters is a day you fail to absorb what they know. This is uncomfortable because it means accepting lower status in exchange for higher proximity. It means being the least important person in the most important room rather than the most important person in the least important room. Your ego will resist this. Your need for recognition will scream at you to return to ponds where you are admired. But admiration from below is worthless. Only proximity to above matters. Machiavelli was dismissed and overlooked for years. Minor nobles laughed at his modest clothes. Important courtiers forgot his name between meetings. But he did not leave. He stayed in the room. He absorbed what they knew. He became what they were. And when the political tides shifted, those laughing nobles were drowning while Machiavelli was advising the new powers. He had prepared himself in silence. They had prepared themselves for nothing. I want you to think about the most successful environment you have access to. Maybe it is a job where you would be junior, a club where you would be the least wealthy, a group where you would know the least. And I want you to ask yourself why you are not spending more time there. Your answer will reveal whether you are serious about infiltration or merely entertained by the idea of it. Lesson 5. The fifth law of infiltration is perhaps the most psychologically demanding. It concerns the management of your own visibility during the long period between arrival and acceptance. Machiavelli understood that this middle period was the most dangerous. You have entered the space, but you have not yet been absorbed into the circle. You are visible enough to be evaluated, unknown enough to be suspected. This period can last years. And during this period there is one behavior that destroys more aspiring infiltrators than any other. Premature assertion of equality. Let me explain what this means. When you first enter an elite environment, you are not equal. You are a guest, a visitor, someone who has been temporarily permitted to breathe the same air. Common people resent this. Their egos demand immediate recognition. They want to be treated as peers from day one. And so they assert. They offer opinions without being asked. They reference their achievements to establish status. They challenge ideas to demonstrate intelligence. They take up space. Each of these behaviors feels right in the moment. Each of these behaviors confirms permanent outsider status. The elite are watching for exactly this. They want to see if you understand your position. They want to see if you can tolerate temporary subordination. They want to see if your ego is under your control or if you are under your ego's control. Those who pass this test are gradually elevated. Those who fail are gradually excluded. The exclusion is usually not dramatic. There is no confrontation, no announcement. You simply notice that you are invited less, informed later, included in smaller matters but excluded from larger ones. The door closes so slowly you do not even feel it moving. Machiavelli was a master of strategic subordination. In letters that survive from his diplomatic years, you can see how carefully he positioned himself as a student rather than a peer. He asked questions more than he made statements. He praised insights he could have provided himself. He gave credit for ideas that were actually his. This was not weakness. This was sophisticated understanding of human psychology. People promote those who make them feel intelligent. People exclude those who make them feel challenged. By consistently positioning himself as the learner, Machiavelli gave the powerful around him constant small experiences of superiority. Each conversation confirmed their importance. Each interaction fed their self-regard. They began to enjoy his presence. They began to seek his company. Not because he was impressive, but because he was pleasant to be impressive around. And slowly, almost without noticing, they began to treat him as one of them. Not because he had demanded equality, but because he had earned it through strategic patience. Subscribe now if you feel something shifting in your understanding. The next lessons will build on everything you have learned, but they will only make sense if the foundation is secure. And the foundation is this. Infiltration is not about forcing doors open. It is about becoming someone the insiders want to open doors for. Lesson 6. The sixth law of infiltration concerns information asymmetry and how to use it without being detected. Every elite circle has knowledge that outsiders do not possess. Information about opportunities before they are announced. Understanding of relationships before they are public. Awareness of vulnerabilities before they are exploited. This informational advantage is one of the primary benefits of being inside the circle. It is also the mechanism by which outsiders are identified and excluded. Machiavelli learned that elites constantly test new entrants with information. They share a small piece of non-public knowledge and then watch where it travels. If the information spreads, they know you are not safe. If the information stays contained, they trust you slightly more and share slightly more. This escalating pattern of trust building is invisible to those who do not know it exists. Most ambitious people who enter elite spaces are excited to receive inside information. They share it with friends to seem important. They drop hints to prove their access. They cannot resist the status that comes from knowing what others do not know. And with each share they fail a test they did not know they were taking. The information was never the point. The test was the point. You were being evaluated and you demonstrated that you are a leak. Machiavelli treated every piece of information as a potential trap. Anything shared with him was assumed to be monitored. Any knowledge that reached him was assumed to be a test of his containment capacity. He shared nothing. He hinted at nothing. He allowed people to believe he knew less than he did. And because he never leaked, he kept receiving. The information flows to the vault. The information avoids the sieve. After years of demonstrated containment, Machiavelli knew more about Italian politics than most princes. He knew which alliances were secretly forming. He knew which families were secretly failing. He knew which cardinals were secretly heretics and which generals were secretly traitors. This knowledge made him invaluable. Not because he used it, but because everyone knew he could use it and chose not to. That restraint made him trusted. That trust made him essential. Think about information that has come to you. Gossip about powerful people. Early news about important developments. Private details about public figures. What did you do with that information? Did you keep it sealed? Or did you trade it for momentary status? Your answer determines whether you are building trust or burning it. Comment below if you have ever shared information you should have kept private. You do not need to share what the information was. Just acknowledge the pattern. Awareness is the first step toward change. Lesson 7. The seventh law of infiltration involves the strategic use of favors. This is where most ambitious people make fatal errors because they misunderstand the psychology of obligation. Common wisdom says that if you want people to like you, you should do favors for them. This creates gratitude, and gratitude creates loyalty. Among equals, this wisdom has some truth. Among unequals, it is completely wrong. When you do favors for someone significantly above your status, you do not create gratitude. You create discomfort. You create a debt that they did not want to owe. You create an imbalance that they will want to resolve not by reciprocating but by removing you from their environment. This is counterintuitive but observable. Think about a time when someone below you in some hierarchy did you a significant favor. You probably felt awkward, perhaps even resentful. Not because you are ungrateful by nature, but because the favor created an obligation you did not choose and could not easily repay without elevating them beyond their station. The elite feel this constantly. They are surrounded by ambitious people trying to create debts, and they have developed sophisticated defenses against it. They recognize the strategy. They resent the manipulation. They exclude the manipulators. Machiavelli understood this and developed a different approach. He never did favors that required acknowledgement. He never created debts that demanded payment. Instead, he provided what he called invisible service. Small assistances that were barely noticed. Information shared without asking for credit. Support provided without any request for reciprocation. The beneficiary would hardly register that anything had been done. There was no uncomfortable debt to repay. No imbalance to correct. But over time a pattern emerged. Things went smoother when Machiavelli was around. Problems were prevented before they arose. Complications were solved before they became visible. And the powerful began to feel that his presence brought good fortune. They did not feel obligated to him. They felt that they were fortunate to have him near. This is the highest form of service. The kind that is felt but not seen. The kind that creates not debt but desire. They wanted him around because things were better when he was around, not because they owed him anything. This is why Machiavelli advised never to make gifts that require recognition. Never to do favors that demand acknowledgement. The gratitude you seek from above will always cost more than it is worth. But the invisible service that asks nothing creates everything. If you are taking notes, write this down. The goal is not to make the elite feel indebted to you. The goal is to make the elite feel lucky to know you. Debt creates tension. Luck creates affection. And affection opens doors that debt never will. Lesson 8. The 8th law of infiltration concerns the management of enemies within the circle you are trying to enter. This is inevitable. No matter how careful you are, no matter how inoffensive your behavior, someone inside the circle will decide that they do not want you there. Perhaps they see you as future competition. Perhaps you remind them of someone they dislike. Perhaps there is no rational reason at all. Humans are tribal, and some tribal members will always resist new entrants. Machiavelli faced this constantly. In every court he entered there were established figures who viewed his presence with suspicion. They whispered against him. They excluded him from gatherings. They questioned his motives to those who had welcomed him. The common response to internal opposition is confrontation. To defend yourself. To expose your enemies. To win the conflict through superior argument or force. This is exactly wrong. Confrontation inside an elite circle forces other members to choose sides. And they will almost never choose the newcomer. You do not have enough relationship capital. You do not have enough history. You do not have enough trust. Every confrontation you initiate will be a referendum you lose. Machiavelli's approach was different. When he encountered opposition, he did not fight. He did not defend. He agreed. He praised his opponents publicly. He sought their counsel ostentatiously. He positioned himself as their admirer, their student, their supporter. This confused them. They had prepared for battle but found no opponent. Their aggression had no surface to strike. And slowly something remarkable happened. Their opposition began to look unreasonable to others. They appeared to be attacking someone who showed them nothing but respect. The circle began to sympathize with Machiavelli not because he had won an argument, but because he had refused to have one. The enemies isolated themselves through their own aggression, while Machiavelli remained still and absorbed the attacks without response. Eventually, most of his opponents either gave up or destroyed their own positions through excessive hostility. The few who remained were marginalized by their own behavior. And Machiavelli had never once raised his voice. This is the power of strategic submission. You do not defeat enemies within the circle. You let them defeat themselves while you remain blameless. Every attack they make on someone who refuses to fight diminishes them and elevates you. But this requires something most people cannot provide. The capacity to absorb hostility without retaliation. The ability to smile at someone who is trying to destroy you. The discipline to praise someone who despises you. If your ego cannot tolerate this, then you will fight. And if you fight, you will lose. Because the newcomer never wins battles inside the circle. The newcomer only wins by refusing to battle at all. Ask yourself honestly. Can you be attacked and not attack back? Can you be insulted and respond with kindness? Can you watch someone lie about you and offer them nothing but praise? Your answer determines whether you can infiltrate or whether you will be filtered out by your own reactions. Lesson 9. The 9th law of infiltration is the most strategically complex. It concerns the transition from tolerated outsider to accepted insider. This transition is not automatic. Time alone does not accomplish it. Many people spend years in elite proximity and never cross the threshold. They remain permanent guests. Tolerated but not trusted. Present but not included. Machiavelli identified the moment when transition becomes possible. It occurs when you are asked to participate in something that could damage you if revealed. This is the final test. Everything before has been evaluation. This is initiation. The elite are inviting you into shared vulnerability. They are asking you to become compromised alongside them. This might be a business arrangement that bends rules. A personal secret that would cause scandal. A decision that would invite criticism. A loyalty that would create enemies. When this invitation comes, and it comes quietly without announcement or ceremony, you have two choices. Refuse and remain forever outside. Accept and become one of them. Most people never receive this invitation because they failed earlier tests. They leaked information. They created uncomfortable debts. They fought battles they should have avoided. They were filtered out before the transition was possible. But those who receive the invitation and accept it cross a threshold that cannot be uncrossed. You are now inside. Not because you demanded entry, but because they need you to be inside. Your knowledge of their vulnerability makes you family. Your participation in their compromise makes you bound to them as they are bound to you. This is why Machiavelli said that the deepest alliances are built on shared sins, not shared virtues. Virtue creates admiration at a distance. Sin creates intimacy without escape. The most powerful circles are held together not by common values but by common secrets. Not by mutual respect but by mutual exposure. Once you understand this, the nature of elite circles becomes clear. They are not communities of the excellent. They are communities of the compromised. And the price of entry is your own compromise. Some of you will find this disturbing. You imagine that elite circles were gatherings of the virtuous and talented. They are not. They are gatherings of those who cannot afford to betray each other. This is not cynicism. This is observation. And once you accept it, the path forward becomes clear. You must be willing to become compromised. You must be willing to share in sins you might prefer to avoid. You must be willing to bind yourself in ways that cannot be unbound. If this price is too high for you, then the elite will remain closed. Not because they reject you, but because you reject the terms of entry. Comment now if this lesson surprised you. Tell me whether your image of elite circles has changed. Because understanding what you are actually trying to enter is essential before you decide whether to continue trying. Lesson 10. The 10th law of infiltration addresses what happens after entry. Most people assume that once inside the work is done. They have arrived. They can relax. They can enjoy the access they have earned. This assumption ends careers. Machiavelli observed that elite circles are not static. They are constantly churning. Old members lose favor. New members rise. Alliances form and dissolve. Power shifts between factions. The person celebrated today is excluded tomorrow. The person excluded today is essential next year. This means that infiltration is never complete. You are always being evaluated. Always being tested. Always at risk of expulsion. The moment you assume your position is secure is the moment you become vulnerable. Worse still, the same behaviors that gained you entry can destroy you once you are inside. The humility that made you safe as an outsider can make you weak as an insider. The invisibility that allowed you to observe can make you forgotten when opportunities arise. The restraint that prevented you from threatening anyone can make you seem to have nothing to offer. You must transition your behavior without anyone noticing the transition. You must become more visible without seeming to seek visibility. You must assert more without seeming to assert at all. You must become valuable without seeming to have become more valuable. This is the advanced game, and it requires constant calibration. Machiavelli managed this by allowing others to give him credit for things he had quietly accomplished. He would suggest ideas privately to powerful figures and then praise their wisdom when they announced the ideas publicly. The powerful believed the ideas were their own. But they noticed that Machiavelli always seemed to understand their ideas perfectly. They began to feel that he thought as they thought, that his mind worked as their minds worked, that he was somehow attuned to their way of seeing. This created a strange form of intimacy. They trusted him because he seemed to be an extension of themselves. They promoted him because promoting him felt like promoting their own perspective. They protected him because his fall would feel like their own loss. All of this was engineered. All of this was invisible. And all of this was necessary because staying inside requires as much strategy as getting inside. Perhaps more. If you have made it this far in the video, you are not a casual viewer. You are someone who understands that real knowledge requires sustained attention. Subscribe now if you have not already, because what comes next builds on everything before. And share this video with one person who you believe is ready to hear it. Not everyone is. Choose carefully. Lesson 11. The 11th law of infiltration concerns the relationship between patience and speed. This seems like a contradiction. How can infiltration require both patience and speed? Machiavelli resolved this paradox through what he called slow preparation and sudden movement. The patient phase is everything we have discussed so far. The years of building trust. The months of demonstrating discretion. The seasons of absorbing patterns and proving safety. This phase cannot be rushed. Attempts to accelerate it always fail. The elite have seen every shortcut, and they have defenses against all of them. But within this patient phase, there are moments when speed becomes essential. Opportunities that exist for days or hours. Power vacuums that open and close in weeks. Transitions that favor the prepared and destroy the hesitant. Machiavelli was always preparing. But when the moment came, he moved faster than anyone expected. He had spent years positioning himself invisibly. But when the Pope died and chaos erupted, he was in Rome within days, while others were still deciding whether to travel. When alliances collapsed, he was already proposing alternatives, while others were still processing the collapse. When new powers arose, he was already at their side, while others were still mourning the old powers. This speed was not impulsive. It was the release of stored preparation. Everything he had done in the patient phase was preparation for the fast phase. Every relationship he had built was infrastructure for rapid deployment. Every observation he had made was intelligence for swift decision. Common people are the opposite. They are impatient during the preparation phase, trying to skip steps and shortcut trust. Then they are slow during the action phase, hesitating when they should move and analyzing when they should act. This inversion guarantees failure. The infiltrator is patient when patience builds advantage. Then sudden when suddenness seizes it. If you are currently in a patient phase, do not resent it. Do not try to escape it. Use it. Build the relationships. Collect the observations. Store the intelligence. Prepare the ground. Because when the moment comes, and it will come, you will have seconds to act. And in those seconds, everything you have prepared will either launch you forward or leave you behind. Ask yourself right now. If an opportunity appeared in your target circle tomorrow, would you be ready to move? Or would you need more time? If you need more time, then you know what to do. Stop waiting for the opportunity and start preparing for it. Lesson 12. The 12th law of infiltration is the law of identity transformation. This is the most subtle and perhaps the most powerful of all the laws. Machiavelli understood that behavior change is insufficient for true infiltration. Behavior can be faked. Behavior can slip under pressure. Behavior can be inconsistent when you are tired or distracted or emotional. What cannot be faked is identity. Who you actually are. What you actually believe. How you actually see the world. The elite are experts at detecting the difference between performed behavior and authentic identity. They have encountered countless pretenders. They know what simulation looks like. They can sense the strain of someone maintaining a false front. True infiltration requires becoming rather than pretending. You must actually transform into someone who belongs in the circle. Not perform belonging. Embody it. This sounds impossible. How can you change who you are? But Machiavelli understood that identity is not fixed. It is constructed. Layer by layer. Experience by experience. Belief by belief. You constructed your current identity through the environments you inhabited and the people you absorbed. You can construct a new identity through new environments and new absorptions. This is why proximity matters so much. Not just for the strategic benefits, but for the transformational ones. When you spend years near the elite, you do not just learn their patterns. You internalize their patterns. Their way of seeing becomes your way of seeing. Their assumptions become your assumptions. Their reality becomes your reality. And when this transformation is complete, you no longer need to pretend to belong. You belong. The strain disappears. The performance ends. You are simply who you are, and who you are is someone who fits perfectly in spaces that once seemed impossible to enter. Machiavelli, in his later years, was indistinguishable from the nobles he had once observed as an outsider. He spoke as they spoke. He thought as they thought. He assumed what they assumed. Not because he was performing, but because decades of proximity had transformed him at the level of identity. This is the ultimate infiltration. Not getting into the room. Becoming someone for whom the room is natural. Someone who does not feel like a guest because they are not a guest. Someone who does not feel like an outsider because they are not an outsider. The door did not open for them. There was never a door because they were always on the inside. Lesson 13. The 13th law of infiltration concerns the management of your origin story. Everyone who enters an elite circle from outside carries a past. A past that marks them as different. A past that contains evidence of their former status. A past that could undermine their present position if handled incorrectly. Machiavelli came from modest origins in a society obsessed with bloodlines. This could have been fatal to his aspirations. Instead, he transformed it into an asset. He did not hide his origins. Hiding would have invited investigation. Instead, he reframed them. He presented himself as uncorrupted by noble decadence, untainted by aristocratic assumptions, fresh perspective unclouded by inherited prejudices. The very thing that could have excluded him became his distinctive value. He was not despite his origins, but because of them. This reframing allowed him to occupy a unique position. He was not threatening because he was not competing for noble status. He wanted something different than what the nobles wanted. And therefore they did not need to guard against him the way they guarded against each other. Your own origin story requires similar management. You cannot pretend you came from nowhere. You cannot erase your history. But you can control the meaning of that history. You can determine what your past says about your present value. Consider what makes your background different from those you are trying to join. Then consider how that difference could be positioned as an advantage rather than a liability. Fresh perspective. Different network. Unusual skills. Uncontaminated by internal politics. Loyal in ways that those born inside can never be. Every apparent disadvantage of outside origin has a corresponding advantage waiting to be claimed. The outsider who apologizes for their origins confirms that their origins are shameful. The outsider who reframes their origins demonstrates that their origins are assets. Same facts. Different positioning. Entirely different outcomes. Write in the comments what your origin story is and how you might reframe it. Not the full story. Just the headline. Because articulating this reframe is the first step toward believing it. And you must believe it before anyone else will. Lesson 14. The 14th law of infiltration addresses the danger of premature arrival. Many people who successfully enter elite circles destroy themselves through the very success they achieved. They arrive. They celebrate internally. They relax their vigilance. They begin to enjoy rather than continue to position. And in this relaxation they make mistakes that unravel everything they built. Machiavelli warned against what he called the intoxication of arrival. The feeling that the work is done. The sense that you have earned the right to stop being strategic. This intoxication is natural. You have worked hard. You have sacrificed. You have maintained discipline for years. The desire to finally relax is human. But the elite circle you have entered is not a destination. It is a position. And positions must be maintained or they are lost. The same forces that resisted your entry will work to expel you the moment your defenses lower. The enemies you neutralize through patience will strike the moment you give them opening. The trust you built through discretion will evaporate the moment you become indiscreet. Arrival is not the end of infiltration. Arrival is the beginning of maintenance. And maintenance requires the same disciplines that entry required. The same management of visibility. The same cultivation of discretion. The same strategic subordination to those above. The same patient transformation of identity. Nothing ends. Everything continues. Just at a higher level and with higher stakes. Machiavelli lost his position eventually. Not because his enemies defeated him, but because he allowed himself to become comfortable. He wrote things he should not have written. He associated with people he should have avoided. He relaxed disciplines that had kept him safe for decades. And when the political winds shifted, he had no protection. The man who had infiltrated the highest courts in Europe died in relative obscurity. Not because he lacked the skills, but because he stopped using them. Let his fate be your warning. The work never ends. The vigilance never relaxes. The strategy never sleeps. You are always one mistake away from expulsion. Always one relaxation away from exclusion. The moment you forget this is the moment your fall begins. Lesson 15. The 15th law of infiltration is the law of strategic reproduction. Once you have successfully entered an elite circle, your long-term security depends on something most people never consider. You must create others who owe their position to you. Machiavelli understood that isolated individuals are always vulnerable. No matter how trusted, no matter how valued, a single person can always be removed without disrupting the circle. But a person who has brought others into the circle, who has vouched for new entrants, who has created a network of loyalty within the larger network, that person cannot be removed without unraveling relationships that others depend on. This is how you become structurally essential rather than personally essential. You embed yourself in the fabric of the circle so deeply that removing you would tear the fabric itself. The method is simple but requires long-term thinking. As you become established, you identify promising outsiders. People who remind you of yourself at earlier stages. People who demonstrate the same capacity for discretion and patience that you demonstrated. You become their sponsor. You guide them through the same process you navigated. You vouch for them to those above. You take responsibility for their behavior. If they succeed, their success reflects on your judgment. If they fail, their failure reflects on your judgment. This is risk, but it is strategic risk. Because those who succeed will owe their position to you. They will be loyal not from obligation but from gratitude. They will support you not because they must, but because your fall would threaten their own position. Over time, you create a constellation of people whose fortunes are tied to yours. An informal faction within the larger circle. Not organized enough to threaten, but connected enough to protect. Machiavelli did this throughout his career. He brought young diplomats into circles they could not have entered alone. He guided minor officials into positions they could not have achieved without his sponsorship. And when attacks came against him, these people defended him not from affection but from self-interest. His protection was their protection. His fall would have been their fall. This is how you transition from individual to institution, from person to position, from mortal to something that persists beyond your personal vulnerability. If you are not thinking about this yet, you should start. Every person you help enter the circle is an investment in your own security. Every success you enable is a relationship that strengthens your position. The lone wolf gets hunted. The wolf with a pack survives. Lesson 16. The 16th law of infiltration concerns the relationship between virtue and appearance. This is where Machiavelli becomes most controversial and most misunderstood. He did not say that virtue is unimportant. He said that the appearance of virtue is more important than virtue itself. This sounds like an endorsement of hypocrisy. It is not. It is an observation about how human judgment actually works. People do not evaluate your character by examining your soul. They evaluate your character by observing your behavior. They see what you do. They hear what you say. They notice what you support and what you oppose. From these observations, they construct a story about who you are. That story is all that matters for your social position. The actual content of your soul is inaccessible to everyone but you. Machiavelli understood that you can have perfect virtue internally and still be destroyed by the appearance of vice. And you can have significant vice internally and still thrive through the appearance of virtue. The appearance is what operates in the social world. The reality is only relevant to your private conscience. Therefore, the infiltrator must be obsessively attentive to how their behavior appears. Every action must be considered not just for its actual nature, but for how it will be perceived. Every word must be evaluated not just for its truth, but for its impression. Every association must be chosen not just for its personal value, but for its public meaning. This is exhausting but necessary. The social world operates on appearances because appearances are all that social reality can access. To ignore this is to be perpetually surprised when you are judged for things you did not intend and misunderstood for things you thought were clear. Machiavelli cultivated what he called the theatrical consciousness, an awareness that he was always being observed, that every moment was potentially being evaluated, that nothing he did was truly private because anything could be seen and interpreted by others. This awareness did not make him false. It made him careful. He still had genuine values. He still had authentic commitments. But he ensured that those values and commitments were visible in the right ways to the right people at the right times. The truth of who he was and the appearance of who he was were aligned. Not because he was performing, but because he had learned to make his truth visible in strategically effective ways. This is not hypocrisy. This is self-presentation. And those who refuse to practice it are not more authentic. They are merely less effective. Lesson 17. The 17th law of infiltration addresses the management of success. There will come a time when your infiltration succeeds more visibly than you intended. A moment when your achievements become public. When your rise becomes obvious. When others notice that you have accomplished something remarkable. This moment is dangerous. Perhaps the most dangerous moment in the entire process. Because visible success attracts hostility from those who failed. It attracts suspicion from those who feel threatened. It attracts scrutiny from those who now see you as a potential rival rather than a harmless presence. Machiavelli observed that nothing generates enemies faster than undeniable success. The obscure outsider is tolerated. The successful insider is targeted. Therefore, success must be managed as carefully as failure. It must be made to seem smaller than it is. It must be attributed to luck rather than skill. It must be shared with others rather than claimed entirely. It must be hidden rather than displayed. This is counterintuitive because success feels like it should be celebrated. After years of patience and discipline, you finally have something to show. Every instinct tells you to claim your achievement, to enjoy the recognition, to finally receive the admiration you have earned. Resist this instinct. It is the instinct of the outsider. The insider knows that visible success is a target on your back. The insider knows that recognition from some means resentment from others. The insider knows that the moment of triumph is the moment of maximum vulnerability. Machiavelli always attributed his successes to his masters. Every achievement was the result of their wisdom. Every victory was the consequence of their leadership. He kept nothing for himself publicly, even when privately he knew the truth. This made his masters love him. They received credit they had not entirely earned. It made his rivals relax. They did not see him as competing for recognition. It made his position secure. He was valuable without being threatening, important without being envied, essential without being targeted. Practice this now, even before you have major successes to hide. Attribute your achievements to others. Share credit liberally. Minimize your contributions publicly while maximizing them privately. The goal is to accumulate power without accumulating visibility, influence without recognition, impact without credit. If you can master this, you can rise indefinitely. Because no one resists someone who seems to want nothing for themselves. But everyone resists someone who seems to be accumulating more than their share. Lesson 18. The 18th law of infiltration concerns what Machiavelli called the necessity of being feared and loved. He famously wrote that if you cannot be both, it is better to be feared than loved. This has been misunderstood for centuries. He did not mean that you should terrorize people. He meant that you should never be taken for granted. Love without respect leads to exploitation. People will take advantage of your kindness. They will assume your support. They will neglect you because they believe you will always be there. Fear without love leads to isolation. People will avoid you. They will work against you secretly. They will destroy you the moment they see opportunity. The goal is neither pure love nor pure fear. The goal is love grounded in the understanding that you can be dangerous. Affection combined with awareness that crossing you has consequences. Warmth that never becomes weakness. The infiltrator must be liked. We have discussed this extensively. But the infiltrator must also be capable of being dangerous. Not dramatic danger. Not visible threat. Just the quiet understanding that you are not someone to be treated carelessly. This understanding is created through selective memory. Remember slights. Remember betrayals. Remember who harmed you when you were weak. And when you become strong, remember them still. Do not forgive publicly. Do not forget visibly. Let people understand that you track who helped you and who hurt you. That your memory is long. That your patience is not passivity but delayed response. This creates appropriate fear. Not the fear that makes people avoid you. The fear that makes people careful with you. The fear that ensures you are treated with respect even when you are not present. Machiavelli had enemies, but his enemies were cautious. They knew that he remembered everything. They knew that his apparent forgiveness was not amnesia. They knew that somewhere in his long memory their betrayals were recorded and might one day be addressed. This gave him power even over those who disliked him. They were careful because they could not know when the ledger might be balanced. Fear is not about violence. It is about unpredictability grounded in pattern. People know you remember. They do not know when you will act. They know you are capable. They do not know what you will do. This uncertainty creates respect. And respect is what protects you when love is not enough. Lesson 19. The 19th law of infiltration is the law of controlled information release. Everything you reveal about yourself should be strategic. Nothing should be accidental. Nothing should be impulsive. Every piece of personal information is a tool and should be used as such. Machiavelli understood that humans bond over shared vulnerability. When you reveal weakness, others feel connected to you. When you share secrets, others feel trusted by you. These are powerful effects. But they are also dangerous. Because every weakness you reveal is a weapon that can be used against you. Every secret you share is leverage that can be applied when convenient. The infiltrator does not refuse to share personal information. That creates distance and suspicion. But the infiltrator is extremely strategic about what is shared and when. They reveal weaknesses that are actually strengths. Perfectionism that shows dedication. Overworking that shows commitment. Caring too much that shows loyalty. These are not real vulnerabilities. They are virtues disguised as flaws. They create the impression of openness without the risk of exposure. They reveal that are not weaknesses at all. Fear of disappointing others. Excessive honesty. Inability to be dishonest. These admissions seem vulnerable, but they actually build trust. They position you as safe. As reliable. As someone whose confessed weaknesses make you more trustworthy rather than less. Real vulnerabilities are never shared. Real doubts are never spoken. Real fears are never revealed. These are kept internal and managed privately because the moment they become public, they become weapons. Machiavelli shared carefully calibrated personal information with everyone he wanted to connect with. Each person received slightly different vulnerabilities. Slightly different secrets. Each felt specially trusted. None had the complete picture. And none had anything that could actually damage him because everything shared was strategic rather than authentic. This is not dishonesty. This is boundary management. You are not obligated to be fully transparent with everyone. You are not required to give people ammunition against yourself. You are entitled to manage what you reveal and to whom you reveal it. Those who demand full transparency usually want leverage. Those who offer full transparency usually lack strategic awareness. Neither serves you. Practice controlled release. Prepare your vulnerabilities in advance. Know what you will share when asked for personal information. Never improvise when it comes to self-revelation. Every word is either building your position or undermining it. There is no neutral disclosure. Lesson 20. The 20th law of infiltration is the law of invisible departure. This may seem strange. Why would a law of infiltration address leaving? Because the ability to leave well is what gives you power to stay well. Machiavelli understood that the moment you become unable to leave, you become vulnerable to those who know you cannot leave. If your entire identity is wrapped in your position, you cannot afford to lose the position. And people will sense this desperation. They will exploit it. They will treat you worse because they know you will tolerate worse treatment. The infiltrator always maintains exit options. Not because they intend to use them, but because having them changes the power dynamic of every interaction. You are never desperate, never trapped, never without alternatives. This is felt by others even when it is never stated. The person who could leave but chooses to stay is treated differently than the person who must stay because they have no alternatives. Both may perform the same behaviors, but one radiates choice and the other radiates necessity. Cultivate options even if you never exercise them. Maintain relationships outside your target circle. Keep skills that would be valuable elsewhere. Preserve a reputation that would open other doors. Never let your current position become your only possible position. Machiavelli always had alternatives. Other courts that would welcome him. Other patrons who valued his counsel. Other cities where his skills were recognized. He never needed any single position because he had prepared multiple positions. And this preparation gave him confidence that others could feel but could not explain. He was there because he chose to be there, not because he had nowhere else to go. This distinction matters more than almost anything else. The desperate cling. The position choose. And people grant respect to those who choose while exploiting those who cling. If you currently have no exit options, start building them today. Not because you plan to leave, but because having the option to leave is what makes staying powerful. Comment below what exit option you are currently building or should build. Articulating it makes it real. Lesson 21. The 21st law of infiltration is the law of temporal awareness. Elites exist in a different time frame than common people. They think in generations rather than years. They make decisions for decades rather than months. They plant trees whose shade they will never sit under because their grandchildren will. The infiltrator must adopt this temporal perspective. Quick wins mean nothing. Rapid returns are distractions. Everything is long game. Everything is delayed gratification. Everything is preparation for futures that have not yet arrived. Machiavelli made decisions in his 30s whose benefits did not materialize until his 50s. He planted relationships that would not bear fruit for decades. He accepted costs in the present that would only make sense in a future he could not see clearly but believed in absolutely. Common people cannot do this. They need immediate results. They abandon strategies that do not show quick returns. They optimize for present comfort rather than future position. This is why they remain common. The elite recognize each other through temporal patterns. How someone makes decisions reveals their time horizon. And those with short horizons are never fully trusted because they can always be tempted away by immediate offers. If you want to be recognized as worthy of elite circles, you must demonstrate that you think in their time frame. Accept short-term losses without complaint. Pursue long-term positions without wavering. Make decisions that only make sense if you are playing a multi-decade game. Others will sense this. They will recognize you as someone who shares their perspective. Someone who understands that real power accumulates slowly and compounds over time. Someone who will not be distracted by quick wins and will not abandon the path when immediate results are absent. This temporal alignment is more important than almost any skill or connection. Because skills can be taught and connections can be made. But the capacity to think in generations is rare and reveals character at the deepest level. Lesson 22. The 22nd and final law of infiltration is the law of integrated identity. After all the strategies and tactics and techniques, there is something that must underlie all of them. You must become someone who belongs in the spaces you aspire to enter. Not pretend to belong. Not perform belonging. Actually belong. This is the culmination of everything Machiavelli learned through decades of infiltrating the highest circles of power. At the end, all technique falls away, and what remains is transformed identity. You have absorbed so much, practiced so long, inhabited the space so completely that you no longer remember what it was like to be outside. The door you once studied how to enter now seems like it was never there. Because doors are only visible from outside. From inside there is only open space. This transformation is not betrayal of who you were. It is evolution into who you were becoming. The person you were was always capable of being the person you now are. The distance was never as great as it seemed. The barriers were never as real as they appeared. What separated you from the elite was never blood or birth or blessing. It was only knowledge. Knowledge of how the game is played. Knowledge of what the tests actually test. Knowledge of how doors actually open. You now have that knowledge. Not complete. Knowledge is never complete. But sufficient. Sufficient to begin. Sufficient to move. Sufficient to transform. What you do with this knowledge is your choice. Some of you will watch this video and do nothing. You will return to your lives and continue circling outside doors you cannot see. Some of you will try and fail. You will lack the patience, the discipline, the stomach for the compromises required. But some of you will succeed. You will enter rooms that once seemed impossible. You will join circles that once seemed closed. You will become what you once only observed. And when you do remember this moment, remember when you first learned what you did not know. Remember when the architecture became visible. Remember when the path appeared. Because there will come a time when you are inside looking out. And you will see others circling as you once circled. Some of them will be ready to learn what you now know. And you will have to decide whether to teach them or let them circle forever. Choose wisely. The circles continue. Subscribe if this video has changed how you see the world. Share it with one person who is ready. And return when the next piece of the architecture is revealed. Some knowledge can only be transmitted to those who are prepared to receive it. You are now prepared. What happens next is written by you alone. The door is visible. Your hand is on the surface. The choice was always yours. It remains yours now. Choose.